Anyway, we're back to this studio situation here. We're not going to get involved in whether to tear it down or not, but when they built this studio, this wasn't here. The only way you get upstairs to the office was go through the hallway down here and up the steps, because they wanted nobody breaking into the sessions, nothing period. So all of this was just open. And I promised the guys I'd tell one story or so, but the only time we worked with Elvis in this studio was in September of 1970. He was doing some work across the way at Studio B doing his solos. He never did a solo in here that I know of. At least we didn't work with him if he did. But he had some sessions scheduled in September and October over at Studio B. But he was going to replace some of the background on a country album and 2 or 3 songs he wanted a sound on that the J.D. Sumner's group had put on there. Yeah, we had to have the Jordanaires. So anyway, we were supposed to come in here, and I got here a little bit early, and when I walked in that back door, I couldn't see because of the difference in the light, and this flash came in front of me, and Elvis picked me up under the arms here and swung me around and around. He said, "I'm so glad to see you." I said, "I didn't know who you were. How you doing?" He said, "I'm doing fine." "So the other boys coming?" I said, "Yeah, they'll be here a little later." He put his arm around me, and we walked back in here. Well, at that time, there was a fence right in front of the control board there, and a little gate that opened, and the couch was down here in front for people to look out in the session. But they weren't allowed up on the recording level. So that fence there with a little gate, Elvis was sitting behind that fence, turned around backward in a chair, they said, listening to some of his music, getting ready for the session. And after the session, they told me, he said, "Ray," he said, you should have seen him. He said, "When you walked in that back door, he hopped up over the back of his chair, jumped over the railing, and then burst through both those doors, and they weren't even shut until he got to you." He said, I said, "Well, I didn't know what it was. It was like a whirlwind, you know." But he was the sweetest guy, easiest person in the world to work with. I never heard him say one condescending remark to anybody that was working with him. He wanted all of us to do what we could feel, and then if he had something he wanted to do a little special, he might say, "I'll leave that out right there if you would, and you guys play." Okay, we'll do that. But it was just great to work with. I told him one time in one of our conversations, I said, "You know, Elvis, I've learned, I've always known this, I think, because of my daddy and my mama, but every person is 100% of what he or she has to deal with. And we need to respect that 100% because that's their life." Well, one day we were in a recording session, and he was talking to one of the cleanup guys. It's over here at RCA. And the cleanup fellow was standing there just inside the studio where we would record. And these 3 suits from RCA in New York, they came over, walked over to him. There's about 3 or 4 feet distance between Elvis and the janitor there. Well, they walked up kind of like that. Elvis not only didn't shoo them off, he didn't pay the least bit of attention to them. And the man stopped talking and looked like this. Elvis said, "Go ahead, sir." So the man finished his conversation. He shook his hand and said, "Thank you for speaking to me." Then he walked over to the 3 suits. He said, "Gentlemen, if you see me talking to somebody, don't interrupt me. Don't even walk up to me. I know it's when your turn, and I'll get to you then." And they didn't.